Convicted murderer Chris Dawson will wake up this morning in a small concrete prison cell at Sydney Police Centre after he was found guilty of killing his first wife Lynette 40 years ago. The 74-year-old will be transferred to Long Bay Correctional Centre, where he'll likely stay for the rest of his life.
Paul Dawson and his wife Marilyn exit court, quickly surrounded by waiting media. They had just learned, along with the rest of the world, that Chris Dawson is guilty of killing his first wife Lynette. After an emotionally charged day and lengthy trial, a scuffle erupts. Cameramen are pushed. Paul Dawson is seen yelling at journalists.
That's my wife. All right, okay. This guy here.
Give him some room.
For Lynette Dawson's family, it was relief after a 40-year wait for justice.
I was on the verge of crying, but just to see the sheriff's officers come in and actually handcuff him and him just being led away meekly, that really hit me.
For 10 weeks, Justice Ian Harrison heard from dozens of witnesses. Many who gave statements in previous police investigations had died over the years. It took 7 weeks for Justice Ian Harrison to deliberate, and at 10 a.m. he began reading his verdict to a packed courtroom. There were so many people waiting to get into court, they opened up an overflow courtroom where people could watch a live stream. The verdict reading took over 5 hours. There were audible gasps as the judge finally came to his decision.
I'm satisfied that the prospect that he would lose so distressed, frustrated and ultimately overwhelmed him that, tortured by her absence up north, Mr Dawson resolved to kill his wife.
Then 3 court police officers moved to where Chris Dawson was seated, handcuffed him and led him out of the courtroom as Chris Dawson shook his head in disbelief. With no body and a void of physical evidence, Justice Ian Harrison decided beyond reasonable doubt that Chris Dawson murdered his wife Lynette, had a window of opportunity to dispose of her body and had the motive. He found Chris Dawson lied multiple times and threw out evidence from witnesses who claim they saw Lynette after she disappeared as either fabricated or unreliable.
The whole of the circumstantial evidence satisfies me that Lynette Dawson is dead, that she died on or about 8 January 1982 and that she did not voluntarily abandon her home.
Chris Dawson's lawyer Greg Walsh spoke to the media outside the court, saying the Dawsons are shocked at the verdict.
He's obviously very, shocked and very upset about his situation. He's not well. He's been suffering from cognitive problems and also a lot of other physical problems.
The Teacher's Pet podcast by investigative journalist Hedley Thomas was instrumental in bringing the Supreme Court trial and now putting a wife killer behind bars.
Chris Dawson should have been charged 40 years ago. He has had 40 years of his life that he has been able to enjoy without any accountability for what's happened.
Lynette's family have called on Chris Dawson to now do the honourable thing and tell them where Lynette is buried so they can give her a proper burial, have closure and move on.
We still need to bring her home. We would ask Chris Dawson to find it in himself to finally do the decent thing and allow us to bring Lynn home to a peaceful rest, finally showing her some dignity she deserves.
Chris Dawson's fate has now been sealed. He is going to prison. It's likely he'll spend the rest of his life behind bars, but we'll know exactly what sentence is handed down at an upcoming sentencing hearing, likely within a week. Wearing pink in honour of their Lynette, finally, their long search for justice has come to a close. Kenny Heatley, Sky News, Sydney.